Okay. Erev Tov. We are live and we're going. Thursday night, Tzurba Mirabanan Shiur, number 3. We are still on the topic of Netilat Yadayim. Welcome to everybody that's here. Welcome to everyone that is partaking in another delicious Hamin brought to you by Adam. Thank you very much, Adam, again. The reviews are very positive. They said better than last week. So that's a good sign. And welcome to everybody that is watching from home or listening later on, wherever you are in the world, and eating whatever you are eating. Or maybe you're not eating, but it's good to have you with us. We are studying the laws of Netilat Yadayim. Until now, we've discussed waking up in the morning. Last week we focused a lot on Ruach Ra'ah and that whole discussion over there. And the rest of the Netilat Yadayim section deals with where in our daily routine we would be washing our hands for other things. Whether it's connected to something of Ruach Ra'ah or maybe just simply out of cleanliness of Nekiyut. There's a lot of times that you might be familiar with that we're going to, touching your shoes, going to a cemetery. These are things that we're going to talk about now. We're going to see them actually in halakha. I'm hoping to finish. I don't think we're going to finish it all today because there's quite a few examples that we're going to go through. But definitely by next week we'll finish it and we'll probably even start the next subject. So if you're following along with us, we're on page 61 in this book, Tzurba ben Rabbanan, volume number 8, page 61. So like we said, there's 2 reasons why a person might have to wash their hands. Ruach Ra'ah, which has to connect it with waking up in the morning or coming out of a bathroom. We're going to see other examples of that, blood, donating blood, cutting one's nails, and then there's dirt and cleanliness. So he begins with a letter from the Hazon Ish. Very nice letter that speaks about this concept. So let's read inside. Ahavat hatara v'anekiyut asher hutba'a b'nefesh. The fact that our soul cherishes and loves the tahara and the nekiyut, the purity and the cleanliness, v'asher hanefesh mitzta'eret al hefkan, and the nefesh opposes and despises the opposite, which is impurity and uncleanliness, through its 5 physical senses that we have. This is found in many places in the Torah laws. So much so that the soul cannot attach itself to these ideas unless it is separated from what he calls disturbances. The Gemara tells us, Masechet Avodah Zarah, we actually just learned this in Daf Yomi, Tahara mevi'a lidei kedusha, that purity leads to holiness. And the Gemara Masechet Brachot says, V'item kedoshim, it says that you shall be holy, elu mayim achronim. This is in reference to mayim achronim. Ve'inyan machanecha kadosh, and the wording from the pasuk, machanecha kadosh, your camp shall be holy, ve'chovat nekiyut, complements this obligation of being clean. Hinam omnam ra'im, they are together, they are friends. So the concept of kedusha and cleanliness go hand in hand. However, they each have their own domain, as the Chachamim explain. And then the pasuk veikon likat Elohecha Yisrael, hikon kolelet shenehem, includes both of them. Ken tzrichim latet lahem, number 2, latet lev leizahem mafsidim atiraim. You have to be cautious to avert these forces that might cause you to not be pure. Not to treat Netilat Yadayim in a very light manner. And how the Shulchan Aruch is very strict when it comes to washing our hands. Make sure that you don't have any obstructions on your hands when you're washing. And that the washing should be beyond the knuckles. This is all included in the concept of tahara that brings you to kedusha. Okay, so nice introduction. You want to be kadosh, you want to be a person that is considered holy, a purity leading to holiness. It starts with the purity. How do I purify myself? It's done through Netilat Yadayim and keeping that and following the laws. Which brings us to the main halacha that we're going to see today. This is found in Shulchan Aruch, Siman Daled Sa'if Yudchet. Elu devarim sichin netilah b'mayim. These are the things that we require us to wash hands with. Hakam me'amita, rising from bed. Okay, that one we spoke about at length. Vayotze mi bet ha'kiseh mi bet ha'merchatz. Someone who exits the restroom or the bathhouse. And we're going to see, does that apply even to someone who just walked into the bathroom and didn't actually perform any of his duties? Or is it just, does a person actually have to go to the bathroom? Hanoteresi pornav, someone who cuts his nails. Hacholet min alav, a person who touches his shoes, although here it translates as his legs, usually min alav here is reference to shoes. Hanogea beraglav, Hanogea beraglav here is touching one's feet. Hachofef roso, someone who scratches or rubs his head. Veyesh omrim, and someone says, Af haolech ben hametim, even walking among the dead. Okay, we're not talking about the TV shows, the zombies. That's not what we're referring to here. Okay, I'm sorry. It's not the yesh omrim. That's right. Umi shenaga bemet, certainly someone who did touch a dead body. Umi shemafli kelav, someone who removed a louse or lice from their clothing. Hamshamesh mitato, someone who engaged in intimate relations. Hanogea bekina, someone who touched a louse. Ve'hanogea begufo biyado, and someone who touched his body with one's hand. Again, we're going to see what parts of the body that refers to. All of these things, okay, a person must wash his hands. Lalacha. There is a yesh omrim here, but it seems to be there's quite a few things that we have to take heed of when we wash our hands.
Most of these things seem logically to be either impure or but why a leg, why your head? Okay,
so we'll see that. We'll see that. Yeah, there's a nice halacha from Rav Ovadia that speaks about that. The leg is touching the ground. The ground has this, a lot of the impurity comes from the ground. So it's a spiritual thing. Okay, so the first one that the Sefer is going to tackle is funerals and cemeteries. So here, especially if you're a Moroccan, okay, everybody knows you leave a cemetery, you better wash your hands, okay, and many people do it multiple times. They do it when they leave the cemetery, they do definitely before they go home. When they come home, they wash their hands. They walk into some other store to make sure that anything that is there, I'm getting thumbs up.
Yeah. I was about to ask about that. I've heard that you can't go directly home. You have to stop somewhere.
That is a very, very popular Moroccan tradition. To go somewhere that is owned by a non-Jew, okay, and discard of the tumah over there.
The Mamalez brings down the halacha that you're supposed to go back a different route than you went because the Malach HaMavet was following the body. So if you drove, let's say, Bathurst to Steeles, you should go Steeles down to Hilda and then take the other way around. But that's only if you're following the beer, right? Yeah. Like the actual thing.
It's the stuff yay or nay. Like I'm creating my own traditions.
Mamlets? Am I going to say I would argue with the Mamlets? I'm not going to argue with the Mamlets.
Stopping somewhere else, like I have to go to coffee.
Oh, listen. Especially if you didn't wash your hands leaving the cemetery, sometimes in the winter here you can't wash your hands. Yeah, it's frozen. Right? It's frozen. So now you literally got to stop somewhere. Okay, so yeah, you got to do what you got to do. Anyways, but let's assume that there is water. We're going to speak about the funerals and cemeteries. So it starts in Masechet Sanhedrin Daf Samechei Amud Bet, where there the pasuk in reference to the pasuk V'doresh el hametim, which is a lav, is one of our commandments in the Torah that you cannot do with someone who inquires of the dead. So the Gemara tells us, what does it mean, inquiring the dead? Zeh hamar'iv atzmo veholech velan bebet hakvarot kedei shetishre alav ruach tuma. This is a guy who starves himself and goes to sleep overnight in a graveyard so that the spirit of impurity should settle upon him. That's what the Gemara says. Now, I tried looking as to why. I looked up this Gemara to see if there was any commentary on the concept of mar'ivet atzmo. Starving yourself. Does it make it? Well, what if I'm full? What if I had a big barbecue and I want to go sleep in the cemetery? Am I not going to have that? And I didn't find any commentary. So I'll keep on looking. I'll see what I can find, or if anybody is listening online and has a reason why Dafka Mar'ivet Asmo. But nevertheless, that's not the reason why we're quoting this Gemara. We're quoting this Gemara because there is clearly, the Gemara is telling us, that there is a Ruach Tuma in a cemetery. And the Mordechai here says, these are the 7 situations where a person must wash his hands. Okay, the person who's walking among the dead. And we'll see the Shulchan Aruch and the Mishnah Berurah explain that there is this concept of Ruach Ra'am, an evil Tumah in the cemetery, and therefore that's why a person has to wash his hands. Because says Yakut Yosef in Hilchot Avelut. Let's read inside. Hayotze mi bet hakevarot. If someone is exiting the cemetery, v'chen hachozer me'alevaya, or someone is returning from a funeral, tzarich litol yadav. He has to wash his hands. U'me'ikar adin en tzarich litol bakli. You don't have to wash your hands with a cup. But a person will be blessed if he does wash with a cup. And similarly, a person is allowed to dry the hands after washing. But there is a custom not to dry your hands so that you don't just automatically forget about the person who just performed the mitzvah of burying. Let's say you stood further away than 4 amot from the deceased, and or refrained from entering the cemetery. In that case, en tzarich litol yadav. So this is not just a person who died, but from any person that is buried. Okay, so as long as you're outside of 2 meters from a kever, you're not considered tameh from the kfura. Remember that many in the olden days there were bet hakvarot and there were not bet hakvarot. Many times people were just buried in random places, especially among our tzaddikim. Okay, they're just buried in a me'ara, they're just buried in the forest somewhere like that, right? So one thing is to go in a cemetery where there's a very high probability that you're going to encounter a kever, and you'll come within 4 amot, and therefore you're going to be tameh. But in other places, I can see a kever from far, and it's not really a cemetery. I'm okay. I don't have to wash my hands. However, there are those who are mahmir in all situations. There are some that have the custom to wash their hands before they enter the cemetery, but that you don't have to do that. Yes.
There's a meaning to not to wash your hands in your house. You have to do it outside.
Yeah, he's going to get to that. Very good. Hanichnas lekivrot tzadikim, one who visits the graves of the tzadikim. Again, he writes here, shelo betoch bet hakvarot. It's not in a cemetery. Kemo kever Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai beMeron, vekever Yonatan ben Uziel beAmuka, vekever Rabbi Meir bar Anes beTiberia. Vekever Shimon HaSadik, vekadome, all these tzadikim. En tzarich litol yadav vetzeto misham. He does not need to wash his hands when he leaves over there. Okay? Ubishat harechitza b'chazara me'alevaya. When a person comes back from the funeral, na'agu lakpid shelo likach hakli miyad harochetz. Don't take the cup from the person who just washed his hands. You put the cup down. That's what you refer to. That not to enter your house, not to enter a house, even your own house, until you wash your hands. If you don't have someone at home to say, hey, bring me out some water so I can wash my hands outside the house, you don't need to be makpid with this. And the last halakha he says is, he says, you cannot just go to a guy's spout on the side of his house. Okay, by the way, that would be a perfect opportunity to wash your hands before going in the house, is actually opening up the hose. But here you're talking about your neighbor's hose, okay, or somebody else's hose, and washing it, because that would be Isur Gezel. It's an interesting note brought down here at the bottom, that this would only apply when you're in a country where water is scarce. Water is not something that is so fluid like here in Canada, where probably your neighbor is not going to care if you wash your hands for 10 seconds with his hose water. But definitely, if a person wants to be makpid and say, no, I'm not going to do any of that unless I ask permission, then you got to ask permission. Okay, so that is the That is the situation with funerals and cemeteries.
Is the inyan washing in your home or entering the home? Like, okay, I'm home, I'm by myself. Should I go fill up the cup of water, then go to the side or the front yard?
I think it's entering the home.
Right.
Like if you have the ruach
home, I could just do netilat at the sink. I don't have to take the water.
No. Yeah, you enter the home, then okay, you can't do it.
The other question, I was behind a Rav after a funeral, and he was washing his hands, and when he finished, he actually flipped the cup, put it on their hand. Is that something?
I have seen that. I don't know where that comes from. There's a lot of minhagim when it comes to death and burial. All we have here is just put the cup down and let someone else take it. Okay, good. So that is one common time where we wash our hands. Let's move on to the next one, which is the bathroom in the bathhouse. So here we begin with a Gemara Masechet Sukkah. Chazina Leile Rava, that they once observed Rava, it's amazing how many times in the Talmud we derive halacha from what they saw another rabbi do. In fact, I love saying this example. Jewish people covering their eyes with their right hand to say Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, is exactly one of those moments. There's a Gemara Masechet Brachot that talks about how Chazin Aleh, we saw so-and-so cover his eyes when he said Shema Yisrael, and that's why we cover our eyes. The mitzvah in the Torah is just to say Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. That's obviously with kavanah. And if a person doesn't cover his eyes when he says Shema Yisrael, he still fulfills the mitzvah of saying Shema. But this is what that rabbi did, and because of that, that's our custom. Okay? So, Chazin Aleh le Rabba, they once saw Rava that he woke up early, he would enter the bathroom and exit the bathroom, and wash his hands, lay the tefillin and say the bracha. Okay, so we see that Rava used to wash his hands when he left the bathhouse. Says Gemara Masechet Brachot in a different spot, also in the name of Rava, Amar Rava, Hani batei kisae de parsae. However, the Persian bathrooms, af al gav deit behut so'a, even though they are considered sealed, kistumin damu. They are considered they contain feces. So'a kistumin damu. They are considered sealed, and therefore, being that they're sealed, okay, they don't have the status of a toilet. Basically, Rashi there explains that the I guess corridor where it would accept the poo, the feces, was on an incline, so it would kind of roll out, so it wouldn't be directly there, and therefore you have nothing to worry about in this type of bathroom.
It would be like us flushing.
Yes,
It just goes down.
exactly that. reciting Shema. Says the Mishnah Berura, Hayotze mibet hakiseh, afilu lo asa tzerachav. Here he's very, very strict, the Mishnah Berura. Even if a guy did not actually go to the bathroom, he just walked out of the bathroom. Or in order to walk out of the bathroom, you have to walk into the bathroom. V'chen mibet hamerchat. Same thing, a bathhouse. Afilu lo rachat sham. Even if he didn't bathe there, he needs to wash his hands. Why? Why are we so mahmir? Umishum ruach ra'ah sheshora be'elu hamekomot. Because of this ruach ra'ah that dwells in these places. All right. Okay. So there is a big chidush by the Mishnah Berura. The Piskei Teshuvot comes in source number 12 and answers the three questions that are mentioned in the yellow box. Do we see the restroom as having a ruach ra'ah such that one would be required to wash his hands when passing in and out of the room? You're going to go get your toothbrush, or you're trying to get a tissue. Everyone keeps their tissues in the bathroom. I want to go get 2 tissues. I got to blow my nose. I got to wash my hands. All right, that's number 1. Number 2, may one wash Netilat Yadayim for a meal at the sink in the restroom? And 3, what's the status of a room that houses both a toilet and a bath and a shower? Okay, so these are big questions that he addresses in his halachot below that we're going to read now. Any questions so far? No? Okay, good. Ulinyan bet kisaot izmanenu. With regards to our modern day washrooms, she'atzoah nishtefet miyad im zerem hamayim, in which the waste products are flushed away right away. Danu acharonim im dinam kebet hakiseh de parsai she'en sholet sham ruach ra'ah ve'anichnas lesham en chaya b'netilat yadayim. The question is, do they have the status of like these Persian bathrooms, like we said that they had the incline that any feces would roll away 4 amot, and therefore you would not be chayav netilat yadayim. Umaskanat halacha bazel le'achmir. But the halacha is that we are machmir. You go to the bathroom, even though you're flushing away your waste right away, you still have to wash your hands. Why? Kevan she'atzoah nish'eret sham zman ma, because the feces are there even for a small amount of time. V'gam matzui lichloch shel tzoah, and it could be also there's dirty residue of the tzoah that remains on the toilet, u'mei raglaim, and also of the urine. And therefore this room is designated for such, and that gives its identity. Okay, so therefore a person that goes to the bathroom, he has to wash his hands. Now, if there's other purposes to this room, you have a sink where people wash their hands and face or brush their teeth. Or there's a shower and a bath. Or and you have a medicine cabinet. Or in Israel they have their laundry room. They have their laundry machines in the bathroom often. Or sometimes here too. Also, sometimes a bathroom is just a passage to get to the laundry room. People have their house built like that. A person who does not wash his hands, if he was to walk through his bathroom, not going to the bathroom, has who to rely on. But the person who is strict will be blessed. Even in extenuating circumstances. Sometimes you don't have another place to wash your hands. That you could wash your hands in that sink for the purpose of removing the ruach ra'ah. Or because you want to eat bread. Or litfila, or for morning prayers. Or all prayers, in fact. But one thing is for sure, don't say a bracha in the bathroom. You can't say a bracha in the bathroom. And really, yetzeh misham, he should leave the room, while his hands are still wet, and then dry them outside. And if he's able to remove the water and wash outside altogether, that's even better. And you should know, a person can lechatchila wash his hands in a bathroom if there is a partition such so that it would not, be sturdy and not move from the common wind. Some say that even a symbolic doorway is sufficient. All right, so there's some bath. In fact, one of my bathrooms. Okay, you cannot, from where you are washing your hands in the sink, you cannot see the toilet. There is a wall that is blocking the toilet. You can't see it. All right, so based on this, the chatchila, you can go wash your hands because that would be like a partition. Yes.
I think most bathrooms, almost every bathroom in every home has a sink in there for washing your hands and your face.
Yes.
In which case, you could wash there, but like, for example, here in the Gila,
yeah, no problem. Here you can even say a bracha.
So if I were looking for my kid, and I walked into the stalls are, and I were to walk out, really I would have to wash, even if I didn't use the bathroom in that sense.
No, because there is an opinion that says that you don't have to if you don't go to the bathroom.
So
right?
Doesn't the toilet seat, doesn't that count? Like, why wouldn't that be
Interesting.
sufficient?
Mind you, speaking of toilet seats, you do have doors blocking the toilets. You have the stalls blocking the toilet. Right? So you're asking, does a toilet seat act as a stall? Maybe.
Okay, the public washes urinals.
Right, but in the bath, you're saying at home?
At home, yeah.
Oh, you're talking about the main toilet seat.
Yeah,
like
the top one.
Not the rim toilet.
Not the other one that you keep up, the first one that you keep up.
Yeah, the full closure one.
The full closure. Interesting question.
Yeah,
It might be considered.
all the way, all the time.
It might be considered some sort of part. The Chamim ruled it's like a strong partition. That okay. I would definitely say that the doors and the stalls, that is for sure a partition. But good question. Good question. Okay, so there you go. So lechatchila, if you got a partition, you can for sure wash your hands in the bathroom. And there are those who do rely on if there is no partition. But if you don't, if you just go there without going to the bathroom, again, best to wash your hands. Tavo alav bracha. But I don't believe many people actually practice this, especially that a lot of our bathrooms are really just an alleyway to get to another room, or because we need to go get something from the bathroom very, very often. We do. But it should also remind us that the bathroom is a makom tumah, and you know there is a form of ruach ra'ah there. Maybe a person should do his utmost not to enter bathrooms when he doesn't need to enter the bathroom. If you have a mirror, you know, a lot of you have mirrors in the bathroom, like you're getting changed and you want to look at yourself in the mirror. Don't, okay, there's a halacha not to look in a mirror, okay, for men not to look in a mirror. I spoke about that one. But let's assume that we're looking in a mirror and it's okay. But you have other mirrors in your house. Go look in a mirror in your I don't know, downstairs in a different mirror while you're getting dressed or you're fixing your tie. Okay. Let's move on to the next one. The next is cutting nails. Here, the Gemara Masechet Psachim says, "Deshakil tufrei velo mashi yadei." One who cuts his nails and does not wash his hands, mafchid chad yoma velo yada ma'ika mafchid. He will be afraid, but he's not going to know why he's scared. All right? Yeah.
This would also count biting nails.
This is another ruach ra'ah one. Yes, we're going to see biting nails. Biting nails is going to be addressed. Oh, it's another ruach ra'ah one. So if you're saying someone else cuts your nails for you, so I believe that the one who is cutting the nails. I don't have an answer to that question. In fact, no, I don't know.
What's the question nails cut?
That we spoke about that if someone is feeding someone and a different halacha, if someone feeding someone else, you don't have to wash your hands. If I'm feeding someone bread, I don't have to wash my hands. The person eating has to wash their hands. So are you addressed it? Okay, fine. Also, we'll look at it. Okay, thanks. So we'll get to it. Fine. It says Shulchan Aruch in Siman Daled Sif Yutet, Hanotel Tziporna velo natal yadav, someone who cuts his nails and does not wash his hands, mefached yom echad, he shall be afraid for one day, ve'eno yodea mima mefached, he will not know what is frightening him. Okay. Now, all these questions that we've been just asking now, what if it's just one nail? What if it's nail biting? What if he habitually cuts or bites his nail? So let's see what the Piskei Teshuvot says. Kabbalistic stuff in it, and not. I think he's just quoting the Gemara.
He always puts it out for halachot, but the halacha part of it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I believe there's a Gemara. I believe this Gemara. I'm going to look it up. I have a computer, so I can look it up, and I know we're live, but it doesn't matter. 1 second. Pretty sure this. It's right at the start of it. No, it's not this Gemara. So this whole parak, Masechet Pesachim, the last parak, there's a whole bunch of statements from the Talmud that deal about a lot of things that you should be worried about, and a whole lot of voodoo stuff. But this is one of the things. Okay, I was thinking of another Gemara. I thought it was there, but it was not. So let's see what the Piskei Teshuvot says. Ben miadav, ben miraglav. Whether you cut your hands nails or your foot nails. Ben mimkatzetz umisparayim v'kadome. Whether it's with a clip or scissors. Ben biadav u'beshinav. With your hands or your teeth. Va'afilu natal rak tziporen achat. Even if you just cut one, tzarich litol shtei yadav ad haperek. You have to wash your hands until the wrist, ulefachot ad sof kishrei etzbeotav, at least until the base of the fingers. Ulechatchila gimel pe'amim nesirugin, ideally 3 times alternately. Umeikar adin dai berechitzat mayim pam achat kol yad, and by the strict letter of the law, okay, you just really need to do once per hand. Ach lo sagi bishar midi demanke, but if it's not water, it won't help you. Some have excused those who do not wash their hands after cutting with your teeth, or those who bite out of habit, or they're doing it out of anxiety. And someone who is cutting someone else's nails, the one who is cutting does not need to wash his hands, even if he touched the nails. This answers your question. The one who is being cut, the one who is getting his nails cut, has to wash. Says the Yakut Yosef, "Hashomea bracha o kaddish be'et shenotel sipornav, one amen achar bracha o kaddish." Okay, a person that hears kedusha kaddish while he's cutting his nails, even though there's a ruach ra'ah, and now he's got to wash his hands, he still has to answer it. Ve'en lachmir bazeh, and a person should not be machmir. Kevan sharuach ra'ah sheshorei al yadayim be'et shenotel sipornav hu ruach ra'ah kelusha. It is a very soft or minor contamination of ruach ra'ah, and therefore not enough to override the answering of a amen to a kaddish or a bracha. Okay? Alright, the next one. The next one is touching parts of your body, concealed parts of your body. Says the Bet Yosef. Bet Yosef says, Rabbeinu Agadol Mari Abuhav. Rabbi Abuhav says, Katvam b'siman zayin b'shem orchot chayim ve'osif aleim ve'yesh omrim afa nogea bekina, someone who touches a louse, ve'yesh omrim afa nogea begufo biyado, someone who touches concealed areas with his hands. Says the Mishnah Berurah, ve'ayem b'derech hachayim dehu adin im naga begufo bimkomot hamchusim shesham hu mekom ze'ah. This is talking about someone who touches parts of his body, concealed parts of his body, which are places of sweat. Afilu lo naga rak be'etzba achat, even if you only touched it with one finger. Tzarich lirchotz kol yado ad kishrei etzbeotav. You have to wash his whole hand until the knuckles. So I remember once, I say this story, I was in Florida doing high holiday services many years ago, and I was sitting and I was just praying tefillah, and I touched a part of my body that needed to wash my hands. I didn't even realize. Sometimes you don't do it. You don't even realize that you touch. You put your hand inside over here, whatever. And no joke, a guy from the kahal came up to me, like with a belibusha, Israeli guy, care belibusha. He says, Tzarich litol yadayim. He came right up to me. I'm like, okay, all right, he got me, caught, you know. And I got up and I went to go wash my hands. I'll never, those are the stories you never forget. Where was it? It was in Florida. Before I had the Chazan position here. That's, yeah. What? That's what it was. Okay. Yeah. Wild, yeah. Says the Yakut Yosef, Im nagah beyado achad bedavar hamasich netilat yadayim, en tzarich litol ela ota yad bilvad. If someone makes contact with a part, something that needs to wash your hands, but with one hand, you only need to wash that one hand. He also says, tzarich lizarer shelo lagat beshok o beyarech, don't touch your calf or your thigh, ubimkomot hamuchasim shebegufo, or other concealed parts of your body, v'chen shelo lehakech bese'ar sheberosho, or not to rub one's hair in the middle of tefillah. Be'emsa tefillah o limud Torah o be'emsa seudah, or while learning, or in the middle of a meal. Lefi sheyesh milmulei ze'ah, because there is perspiration. Aval hanogea bimkomot hamgulim bese'arot rosho begufo en le'akpid. But if someone touches the hair on the uncovered parts of the body, then you might have hair on your hands. You're touching hair on your hands, or touching your hair over here. That is not a problem. Yeah, good. Mutar. Hanoten dam libdika velo naga bizrotav. Someone undergoes a blood test, and v'chen mishitram dam, or donates blood, and tzarich netilat yadayim, does not require netilat yadayim. Now this seems to go against what the Shulchan Aruch said earlier, but what the Shulchan Aruch was referring to was bloodletting for the purpose of curing a person. If a person is going, people used to, give blood for therapeutic purposes. In that situation, you would have to wash your hands. But just because you want to donate blood, or you're a blood test, someone's saying blood from you, doctor, then you don't need to wash your hands. Hanogea bebaleh hayim tmeim. If someone touches non-kosher animals, kemo hatul o kelev, like a cat or a dog. Yes, omrim she'en tzarich litol et yadav. Some say you don't have to wash your hands. However, it's better to be strict and wash wherever possible. Same thing would apply to kosher animals. Because all animals generally are dirty. However, if they are clean, there is no need for netilat yadayim. So dog owners or cat owners, you want to be strict. You wash your hands. It doesn't mean you have to, you pet your dog. You can play with your dog, but after you finish playing with the dog, you might want to go wash your hands. Yes.
In the case of perspiration, I guess much like the case of an animal, I don't know. Let's say I'm working out. I'm at the gym, or I'm working outside, landscape, whatever. I'm getting sweaty. I'm taking my hand and wash it out. Whatever. Do whatever I am touching. When do you have to wash it like that? Is this just when you're finished doing all those things? Should you really avoid touching yourself when you're in an area where you're sweating a lot?
You're allowed to sweat. No one's saying you're not allowed to sweat.
But I'm going like that.
Okay.
Sweat. Like,
when you're finished, you wash your hands. Right? Here, this is not a ruach ra'ah situation. Remember, there are certain things you wash your hands with ruach ra'ah, and there are certain things that are just simply nekiut, cleanliness. This is a cleanliness factor. But we're still mandating it, it seems, right? Like, there's, you're touching a part of your body that is sweaty, especially when you're learning or you're in parts of tefillah, then something that,
It's not real Quran, do I have to use a cup and
No, you don't. None. This you don't have to use a cup. You don't have to use a cup here. Just wash your hands.
Okay.
Wash your hands. Yeah. Says the Piskei Teshuvot. We've seen him a lot today. Let's say you just came out of the shower. You're clean. Okay? You're not perspiring. And chiyuv netilat yadayim. There's no obligation to wash your hands. Omna mishum lo plug. Because of the principle of lo plug is a principle is, listen, we don't want to make different differences here. Like if you start allowing this one case, then so just general rule, just wash your hands every time you touch a part of your body that should be covered. Ubeniga beraglaim, but when you touch your feet, here's the difference with the feet. Alpi divra mekubalim, through the mekubalim, they explain, ruach hatum'ah sham sholete beyoter. There is more evil. There's more impurity by the feet more than any other part of the body. ויש להחמיר ליטול ידיים היטב בנגיעה שם אפילו עלה עתה מן הרוחצה ונקיים הם. Even you just walked out of the bath. You sat there and you scrubbed your feet for 20 minutes in the bath, okay? And they're cleaner than you've ever been before. You got a pedicure, you don't have dry skin. It's pristine. You touch your feet, we wash our hands. Because of the ruach hatuma that's there. והגדרת מקומות מוכסים שבאדם תלוי לפי הזמן, בקיץ ובחורף והמקום. What does it mean, concealed places? It depends on the person and the season and the place. כגון, במקומות שהדרך ללכת בזרועות ומפרקים מגולים, if you are in a place where people walk with their forearms or elbows uncovered, אין חיוב נטילה בנגיעה שם. You don't have to wash your hands touching these places. אף על פי שיש שם זיעה, even though there might be some sweat. כשם שאין דין חיוב נטילה בנוגע בזיעה שבפניו ומצחו וכפות ידיו. Just as there is no obligation to wash after touching, like you said, your sweaty forehead or face. I can't remember where I read it. I don't know if it was down here in the notes. No, I don't see it here. It could have been. I looked up the Kavayim. There's a certain amount of ruach, not ruach ra'ah, of tumah in the ground, and that's why the feet, especially if a person walks. Maybe it's not here, or maybe it's in the next one. It could be the next touching shoes one where he speaks about it. Yeah, I think that's where he speaks about it. That if your feet touch the ground, it's there's certainly a certain level of tumah over there. 22. Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's where I read. I knew I read it somewhere. Okay. There is here number 17 as at the bottom, as in the Yakut Yosef also writes that teachers should ideally instruct children wearing shorts not to touch their legs while they are learning Torah during Tefillah. Nevertheless, in places where wearing shorts is common, it would seem that based upon the Piskei Teshuvot, the legs would not be considered concealed areas of the body, and washing hands would not be absolutely required. All right. Okay. Good. I'm just looking at our time. We're at 42 minutes. Should we stop here? Yeah, maybe we'll stop here. Maybe we'll stop here, and then we'll complete the Netilat Yadayim section next week. Mir Hashem. Okay, everyone. Have a great night.
Thanks, sir.
The English editor for having a party.
And thank you, Adam.
My pleasure.
Yeah, right. I saw.
They could have just stopped writing it at some point.
Yeah.
If I was typesetting this book and I wrote in 96% of them addition by the English editors, I just write it.
What's amazing?
saying it's